Hi there. This is Crystal from Crystal Obregon Coaching. And this week I am going to talk about habits and routines. Actually, that's going to be a bit of a theme for the month of September, perfect for back to school. I know it's perfect for me. About a week ago, probably 2 weeks ago now, I was challenged by someone in a group I'm in to read the first 3 chapters of a book called Atomic Habits and by James Clear. And honestly, I've had the book on my shelf for probably around a year now. And somebody in the group was asking if it's worth reading. And I said, well, I have it, but I don't know. Somebody recommended it to me. And I often do that. If somebody recommends a book, I will purchase it, put it on my shelf. And most of the time, when the time is right, I do end up reading it. So I guess the time is right for me now. Because she, like I said, challenged me to read the first 3 chapters. And so it's the perfect time because honestly, even though during this, last year and a half, my habits and routines have really kept me going quite a bit. During the last few months, I've dropped off on some of them because it just seems like it's been going on forever. And, we thought things were going all the way back to normal, and they don't quite seem to be. And then it's been a lot with kids home from school or kids home, but going to school online. And then summer, they're completely home and no schedule. And I work at home. So it's been hard to manage all of that, juggle all of that when there's so much going on. And I'm sure it might not be exactly the same for you, but there are things going on for everybody. So, um, so my morning routine has always been the most important to me, and I'm not actually going to try and start anything new right now. I'm just going to try and get back to what I know works for me, and that's pretty much wake up, um, unload the dishwasher while I make my coffee, um, write in my gratitude, goals, and dreams journal while drinking my coffee, and meditate, maybe do some reading. And then from there, it varies a bit whether I take my dogs for a walk or do something else before I get ready for work. And getting up early is a big part of that to make all this happen. It's not a huge, long routine, but it does require, especially meditation for the most part, that I'm up before everybody else. So as I review this, I realize that I'm really not completely off track. It's mostly the meditation that has gone by the wayside this summer. And honestly, my goals and dreams and gratitude journal, I've skipped a day here and there. And honestly, I notice when I do because I wrote a few weeks ago or a month ago about gratitude, and really spending the time to write it down every day. It really does put you in a different frame of mind. So that's super important as well. So right now, my son has just gone back to school this week, and he's actually super excited about that. I think kids are probably a little more excited than normal about going back to school. And I'm about 10 or 11 days to taking my daughter to college for her first year of college. So So even though I feel like once that happens, I'll really be moving forward, I decided that I did want to try to start getting back into my routine ahead of that. So, and I do believe that it's important to give yourself allowances and not be too hard on yourself. But to me, staying away from the routine for too long is really only hurting me. And the routine is there for a reason, and it's because it benefits me. So I just want to make sure I don't miss anything here. So I took the challenge from my fellow group member and read those first 3 chapters, and which is another reason to surround yourself with people with similar goals or similar way of being, or whatever, people that are growth friends, I call them. So I read the first 3 chapters and committed to getting back on track. And if you've read as many personal development books as I have, you will notice that, and it's probably with other kinds of books too that are in groups, but you would see that there's nothing super new under the sun, but sometimes you just need to hear something a slightly different way for it to stick with you, or really resonate with you. So that's the way it is with this book, and I just always think it's good to hear something said a different way. So I'm going to share some of the concepts that James Clear talked about, and remember, this is just the first 3 chapters. And I'm going to talk about how they pertain both in comparison to the high performance habits that I'm really trained in and is the basis of my coaching, and then also just my own experience. So first of all, it's really a 2-step process in changing really your identity, because your identity emerges from your habits, and I'll check back into the whole part about your identity at the end. But what he really talks about, and what my experience is that there's really 3 layers of behavior change, which changes really like who you are. So, for example, like I'm a person that reads books. The behavior of reading books creates that. Or I'm a person that eats healthy food. The actual eating of the healthy food will create that identity. So the first layer is changing, and I'm just making sure that I don't forget anything, is really changing your outcomes. So most goals are associated with that level of change, and I talk about being clear on your goals and visiting them every day as really important too. And the way that I write my goals or my dreams down is as if they had already happened. So as if I already have that outcome. So it's really just a trick for your brain. And then the second layer is a change in your process. So that's the layer that's really concerned with changing your habits and systems. And that seems like what this book is going to be about quite a bit. But most of the habits that you build are really on this level of systems and habits and what you do. And then the third and the deepest layer, like I talked about, is really changing your identity. And it's really concerned with really changing almost like your worldview, your self-image, your judgments about yourself. And so that's where I go with my goals and dreams, like I said. And so all levels of change are really helpful as long as they're in the right direction. So but his book really is concerned with changing or focusing on building a system of habits in just 1% improvements. And so what he talks about is that if you just have a 1% improvement in a lot of areas of your life, that it actually adds up. For one thing, it's easier to make a 1% improvement than just a huge change in one part of your life. But also, all those 1% improvements will add up to something bigger. So, and then he really divides them up also into your outside based habits or your outcome based habits, and then your identity based habits. So really it's like what you want to achieve, and then also who you wish to become. And that's why I talked about being around people who have some of the characteristics of what you wish to become can be really helpful. So, so going to that more, your behaviors are usually a reflection of your identity. And if you believe in a particular aspect of your identity, then you're more likely to act in alignment with that belief. So if you believe that you are a person that eats healthy food, or if you believe that you're a person that exercises every day, then you will be more likely to eat healthy food and exercise every day. That's just part of your identity. It's not even, you can drive past the McDonald's and not even really know that it's there because you aren't a person that eats at McDonald's. So, so what's interesting about it is that the high performance habits, based on the research by Brendan Burchard and the High Performance Institute, which is really the foundation of my coaching, is mostly based on the identity related habits and goals. Some of them are obviously more practical. If you want to generate more energy, then it's helpful to eat good food and exercise and sleep enough. So there are those practical habits as well. But this is why in my coaching, I do spend quite a bit of time also on seeking clarity, because if you're not clear on who you want to be in the future and what you want to even achieve in the future, then you're really not likely to, you'll just be wishy-washy. You won't really be headed in a specific direction. So we discuss and journal on not only being clear on the goals, but especially on who we want to be, because living in alignment with who you want to be really creates more possibility for that future. All right. So it can go obviously in the opposite direction too, like I talked about that, McDonald's example. Like if you think you're a person that eats at McDonald's, then it'll be really easy to stop there. So, and then, you can also, so you really have to work on those beliefs of really who you are, who you want to be, and how that will impact your habits and your success or non-success in whatever you're trying to do. So basically 2 steps: you decide who you want to be, and then you prove it to yourself with small wins. right? Seems easy enough. So that's where I'm headed again, is, in that shorter term, being a person that meditates every day, because I've definitely been that person that said, well, yes, of course I do. I always find time for my meditation, no matter what's going on. Well, it hasn't been that way so much. I have had a lot more success in the last week, which is encouraging, and just getting to sleep earlier, and which helps because my son is going to school. So he's going to bed earlier, and my daughter's starting to get ready to go to college. And so she's settling down. So it does help to have some of those circumstances to help you out. But just thinking about who you want to be, and what that person actually does as far as their habits. And so I'm going to stop there. I'm going to talk a lot more about habits this week. I have this month, I have a great free resource for you, a PDF on morning and nighttime routines. And I will link to it in the show notes, or under the blog, or wherever you are listening to this. So I hope you have a terrific day. My dog is trying to get in. I don't know if you can hear that. And I will talk to you in here next week. Have a great week. Bye for now.